Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe. I can't face doing another scene
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
The story of Blonde begins long before it ever reached audiences, shaped by years of anticipation, debate, and creative ambition. As the project slowly took form, it drew attention for its bold decision to approach Marilyn Monroe's life not as a traditional biographical account, but as an emotional, dreamlike interpretation of her inner world. From the moment early discussions of the film surfaced, expectations surrounded the idea of exploring fame, identity, and suffering through a more poetic lens. As more details gradually emerged, interest grew around how the film would portray the contrast between the global icon known to the public and the private woman who carried the weight of her past, her desires, and her unresolved pain. This tension became the foundation of every update, every image, and every new piece of information that followed the film into the spotlight. When the cast was confirmed, news centered on the choice to place Ana de Armas in the role of Marilyn. The announcement alone stirred immediate conversation, with passionate reactions rising from supporters and skeptics alike. Over time, as glimpses of her performance surfaced, the discussion evolved into admiration for her dedication to understanding the emotional and physical layers of the character. Her preparation, transformation, and deep dive into the psychological spaces of the role were frequently highlighted in early coverage. Surrounding cast members added further depth to the film's evolving identity, contributing to a sense that the project was being shaped with intensity, precision, and a commitment to conveying the vulnerability of the world it would depict. These ongoing casting details help shape the tone and expectations, offering small hints of a narrative rooted more in emotional truth than strict historical documentation. Each new look at the film's development emphasized its intention to blur the line between reality and fiction, using the essence of Marilyn's experiences rather than recreating them literally. Conversations about the film often return to its bold stylistic choices, shifts between monochrome and color, changes in aspect ratio, and surreal imagery designed to express emotional states. These updates sparked debates about cinematic technique, artistic freedom, and the responsibility of storytellers who reinterpret the lives of real individuals. As more audiences and commentators learned about the film's approach, excitement mixed with curiosity, building anticipation for a project that promised to challenge traditional storytelling. The narrative direction suggested that the film would explore internal conflict, fame's pressures, and the disintegration of personal boundaries in a world that often blurred Marilyn's private self with her public persona. As production progressed, interest in Ana de Armas's transformation deepened, with discussions highlighting how seamlessly she balanced the recognizable glamour of Marilyn's image with the emotional fragility beneath it. Reports emphasized the extensive detail involved in recreating famous photographs, hairstyles, and moments from Marilyn's life, alongside the equally significant emotional journey required from the actor. Updates frequently described the dedication poured into perfecting body language, voice inflection, and subtle expressions, aiming to portray Marilyn not as a symbol but as a human being shaped by heartache, hope, and longing. This emphasis on emotional authenticity kept the film in the public conversation as one of the most ambitious portrayals of a Hollywood figure in recent years. Much of the discussion leading up to the film's release centered on the decision to adapt the story from a fictionalized novel rather than a factual biography. This creative choice sparked speculation about which events in Marilyn's life would be reimagined and how the film would navigate the balance between reality and artistic interpretation. As updates surfaced, it became increasingly clear that the film aimed to portray Marilyn's emotional truth above all else. Coverage highlighted that key events would be presented through a deeply subjective lens, shaping a portrait built from psychological experience rather than chronological accuracy. This approach kept audiences guessing about the film's tone, structure, and emotional arc, intensifying curiosity in the months before it reached the screen. Behind the scenes, news often underscored the emotional weight carried by the story and its cast. Filmmakers and performers spoke about the challenges of revisiting traumatic experiences from Marilyn's past, portraying her moments of vulnerability, and highlighting the societal pressures that define so much of her life. The conversations surrounding the film also expanded into broader cultural topics, including the treatment of women in Hollywood, the intensity of media scrutiny, and the unattainable expectations placed on public figures. These discussions further heightened interest in the film's themes, suggesting it would offer not only a narrative about Marilyn, but also a reflection on the contrast between a woman's inner identity and the image the world demands from her daughter. As the release approached, discussion about the film grew louder. Audiences debated how the story would interpret Marilyn's complicated relationships, her childhood trauma, and the haunting effects of fame. Many updates focused on the film's emotionally heavy content, its mature portrayal of difficult subjects, and the bold decisions made in adapting the narrative. These details contributed to ongoing conversations about artistic boundaries, audience expectations, and the responsibilities of filmmakers when exploring sensitive material. The emotional intensity highlighted in early reactions hinted that the film would leave viewers with a powerful and deeply personal interpretation of Marilyn's life. Conversation surged again when the first preview footage appeared. Without revealing full context, the preview sparked immediate reactions for its stunning visuals and the uncanny resemblance achieved by Ana de Armas, even in short glimpses. The film's ambitious artistic style became clear, its fluid transitions, its shifting tones, and its effort to convey Marilyn's internal world as vividly as her external one. These early impressions fueled excitement and debate, giving audiences their first real sense of the film's atmosphere. The imagery suggested a blend of beauty and tragedy, glamour and despair, drawing viewers into Marilyn's psychological journey. As the release date neared, discussions intensified about the film's length, tone, and emotional depth. Many anticipated that Blonde would not simply recount events but immerse viewers in Marilyn's point of view, portraying the vulnerability that lived beneath her iconic image. Coverage of the film continued to highlight its creative risks, its ambition, and its aim to explore complex emotional terrain. The anticipation grew further as viewers prepared for a story that would likely spark conversation long after its release, not only for its visual artistry but also for its profound portrayal of a woman caught between fantasy and reality. When the film finally became available to audiences, reactions were intense and polarizing. Some viewers praised its courage, its visual innovation, and its emotional depth, seeing it as a bold artistic expression of Marilyn's internal struggles. Others debated its interpretive choices, questioning the line between artistic freedom and sensitive responsibility. These reactions only increased the conversation surrounding the film, confirming its role as a deeply challenging and thought-provoking piece rather than a traditional retelling. The emotional resonance of the story, combined with its surreal and symbolic style, ensured that discussion continued long after initial VIEWINGS. In the weeks following its release, updates highlighted how Ana de Armas's performance became one of the most talked-about aspects of the film. Viewers and critics alike expressed admiration for her heartfelt commitment to portraying both Marilyn's luminous charm and her hidden sorrow. Her work became central to many conversations about the film's impact, often described as transformative and emotionally fearless. The debates that surrounded the story only magnified the appreciation for her portrayal, cementing it as one of the defining performances of her career. The film's cinematic techniques also remained a frequent topic of interest. Audiences reflected on its shifting visual styles, its symbolic use of imagery, and its willingness to present Marilyn's experiences in ways that felt raw, unsettling, and deeply personal. The artistic risks taken throughout the film sparked renewed discussion about the boundaries of biographical storytelling, inviting viewers to consider the relationship between truth, emotion, and interpretation. Over time, Blonde became recognized not only as a portrayal of Marilyn's life but as a broader examination of how society consumes, idealizes, and ultimately distorts public figures. Even after the initial wave of discussion settled, new commentary continued to emerge, keeping the film in the public eye. Debates persisted about its emotional weight, its portrayal of trauma, and its provocative approach to storytelling. Supporters emphasized the film's ambition and artistic bravery, while critics brought attention to the complexities of representing real people through fictionalized narratives. These ongoing conversations ensured that Blonde remained a subject of cultural interest, not only for its depiction of Marilyn, but for its examination of fame, identity, and the fragility of human emotion in the face of overwhelming public pressure. As time passed, the film's legacy began to take shape through continued analysis, audience responses, and conversations about its artistic significance.